Greetings and welcome to the Supply Drop episode 40, a game podcast created by three people who knew there weren't enough video game podcasts. My name is Nate. I'll be your host. I'm joined by two other co-hosts today, the first of which is Scott.
Hello.
Scott, what's one thing you learned from holding down the podcast for the last 2 weeks? One thing.
One thing.
Yes. How did you grow as a human being? New perspective.
I learned how to get to not show everybody's name in Discord, which is a game changer.
That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't move your mouse. Just don't touch it. Just
All right.
Turn it off.
It's not gonna
Unplug it.
touch. Yeah, because apparently there's no way to do that.
All right. Our other co-host is none other than the man they called Thick.
Hello.
Thick,
I've returned. I'm
You've
waving,
returned?
actually. You can't really see me right now, but yeah.
No. Thick, can you tell us the darkest thing you had to do while breaking out of your Colombian prison? Can you still look at yourself in the mirror?
I don't know. I had to put a couple tattoos of the blueprints on myself.
Oh, yeah.
Some teardrops.
Yeah. It's a lot of. I think of it as season 1 and 2 of Prison Break.
Oh, so that's why your camera doesn't work right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta hide my location.
Gotta heal those tats up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A little plastic surgery. Yeah, gotcha.
All right. Over the next 90 or so minutes, we'll be covering a myriad of topics, including Dead Island 2, Jedi Survivor, the roguelike genre, the Xbox ABK deal, PlayStation's earnings report, Zelda, and the Armored Core Rubicon gameplay trailer that was just released. Oh, and we'll try to cover AI's impact on the game industry, too. Before we get started, I want to remind listeners they can drop us a comment, a question, or my favorite, an insult at the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel. Scott, tell everyone how your week went.
It went pretty good. I had a pretty good week. I got an unexpected game. I didn't expect to buy this, but I got Dead Island 2.
Nice.
It is nice.
Starring Lenny Kravitz. Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz wannabe. Yep.
Yeah.
And this game is fun. This game is exactly what you think it is. It's a sequel to a run around, kill zombies in just horrific ways with horrific items, and it's been a blast. I've had no issues, no bugs, no performance issues. It's a breath of fresh air.
Is it a little bit more linear than was it the previous one?
Yeah, it's not an open world game. So you go from kind of like just level to level. But it is on a map, so if you need to go to like Bel Air or whatever, you're going to go through Beverly Hills in the same areas. But you encounter different enemies, as you go, and there's different things that happen. So there's different like environmental traps that you can use, and then you do get more weapons as you progress. But I'd rather talk about what's missing. What's missing is the climb the tower and see all the stuff you got to do, and run into somebody every 5 minutes that needs you to go, track down a cantaloupe or something, right? Yeah. That's what I mean by breath of fresh air. All the characters are well written. It doesn't take itself seriously. Some of them are completely goofy. Some of the stuff that happens is hysterical, usually by your own accord. And it's just fun. It has been a joy to play. And the flesh physics on these things.
What do they call it?
I thought it was. Is it Gore-Tech or is it like the flesh system?
I don't know. I forget.
It's legit. It is. Yeah, it is something to behold. I mean, if you just keep hitting one, and it just keeps getting better and better. So,
did you like the first game? Because I had a hard time with that one.
I did like the first game, and I liked the same reason. I liked that it wasn't trying to be this survival game that's uber realistic and so serious. It has some humor to it and it has some fun to it, and These guys did a good sequel. Everything about this game is good. The sound, the image quality, the characters, the writing, everything is good. I wouldn't say there's other than the gore system, there's not anything that's great. There's not anything that stands out that is just like, whoa, I've never seen this before. You have seen all of this before. That doesn't make it a bad game. You're not having to upgrade. There's not like 16 different currencies. There's not a store. There's not, 5 different people you got to talk to buy stuff and trade stuff. It's just zombie killing, man.
75 on OpenCritic right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would rate it. I'd give it a solid 75, if not a tad higher for just working at launch.
Right.
That's an important thing right now.
Right. Yeah. Unlike Jedi Survivor, which is the other game I've been playing. But
yeah, let's dive into that. You're playing that on PC, right?
I'm playing on PC, yes.
Describe the experience in terms of how smooth everything is, like everything polished. Doesn't sound like
it does not feel polished at all. But I will tell you this: some of the stuff that I'm seeing on YouTube, I'm not experiencing that bad a performance. The first planet that you're on is Coruscant, which if you don't know, it's a vast city. It's the whole planet is a city. So my frame rate was anywhere from about 38 to 50 through that entire segment, which is about an hour, a little over an hour. Yeah. So, and that's what everybody is. When you play that area, that's the beginning of the game. So you're like, God, this is just terrible. Now, when you get to the next planet, it does open up and it is a little bit better. So for me, it was about 40 to 80 frames per second. But if you think about
what graphics card do you have?
I've got a NVIDIA 3060 Ti.
Okay, so which is pretty like upper mid range, right? So.
Yeah, and everything I'm playing so far, I've been able to play some games with everything on high at 1440p without DLSS, and then with DLSS, I've been able to go higher with that. But notably, this doesn't have DLSS; it only has AMD version of FSR, right?
Yeah.
The Fidelity FX or whatever. It doesn't do as good a job, but as far as performance, it has not hindered me from enjoying the game. I have had some animations kind of flip out that did cause me to die, such as like changing your stance for lightsabers, going from one blade to two, and it didn't do that. He just kind of started to do that and went, nah. And then it kind of stuck a little bit. But yeah, the performance is an issue. But I guess playing on console so long, it doesn't bother me as much as people that are used to 100 plus on everything. They did release a patch as of today. Today is May 1st, and I've installed it. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I also didn't buy it. And keep that in mind. I didn't pay $70 for this game. I paid $15 on EA Play Pro. So
pro tips.
What's that?
Pro tips.
Yeah.
Just buy it for 15.
Yeah. I mean, it's $15. So, your opinion gets a little different when you're not paying $70 for a game.
Yeah.
Had I paid $70 for this, I'd be a little bit more upset about the performance. But the game itself it's great. Everything they did in the first one, they do more of it in this one.
That's good.
Clear upgrade? Would you say it's a clear upgrade?
I'd say it's a good sequel.
Good sequel?
It is a different game. I will say, like, the writing and the storyline, I was more engaged in the first one because you have this character that comes from something that you're already familiar with in Star Wars, which is the Order 66, and something that traumatic happens to him as like an 8 or 9 year old. So you know that happened, and so you kind of see it from another perspective, and it transcends into the character as you play. He's in a different spot now in this story, and there's not as much engagement with the main character, but the other characters kind of pick up with that. So the story's interesting, just not as Star Warsy, I guess, as the first one, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, I think I like the first story better.
I want to ask you guys a real quick question. Do you like origin stories? Like,
as long as it's not Batman or Spider-Man.
Because you've seen him too much?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All
But
right. What about you,
otherwise,
Zach?
yes.
Okay. I feel like
Uh,
you'll hear opinions on the internet, and it's like, oh, I'm sick of origin stories as a whole. And I'm like, I don't know if I sign up to that.
right, I'm like indifferent. Like
You're
if the
indifferent.
story itself is good, then sure,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's well, for video games, I mean, is that what we're talking about? Just video games?
I
Um,
wasn't, but I guess you could apply it to that.
I
Yeah.
mean, if I, sometimes I don't think it's necessary, and of course, it just depends on the game. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
third-person game that does have characters that are intertwined into other media, so I
Yeah.
think it's important to give that character context.
yeah,
But otherwise, like say something like Uncharted, which is a very similar game. I mean, this is Star Wars Uncharted. Let's not pretend it's not. Yeah, he's a guy that goes and he gets treasure and shoots people. A lot of
Right.
people like a serial killer. So yeah, I don't think there's really much context there that you need. I mean, they
Yeah.
had it, but
Do they
it's
do the
different.
thing where they strip your powers in this, like they do
No.
in almost every game?
No,
They don't.
no,
So
not at all.
you're loaded with a full kit of abilities.
You have what you had at the end of the last game.
Oh wow.
Pretty much.
And then they
But-
add on to that.
But you have, yeah, I mean, you have the powers that you had before, but of course you upgrade those in different ways. So you do have a skill tree that you get points, and then
Yeah.
so you can emphasize more into either survival or your lightsaber or the force. So
Okay.
you can kind of cater your, and you
Play
have
style,
different
yeah.
stances too. So you have the first one that you get, of course, is the double bladed lightsaber. You had that in the first one, but you also get two. You can break it apart and have two. One's a little shorter, just like Ahsoka Tano, if you've ever seen that. And then you get more, but I won't give everything away. And those are interesting and kind of break up the gameplay because you don't really have a lot of, like, as far as like swinging a lightsaber, you just basically have two attacks. But with a different stance, you have two attacks for each stance. So you can
Okay.
alternate between them. But you can only have two at one time. When you go to a workbench, you can only have two stances that you're using that you're altering between. So that's
Okay.
something else you kind of got to go. But yeah, I mean, everything in modern gaming, you've got currencies, you got things to find, you got cosmetics to find, but this time it goes way deeper as far as the cosmetics. It's no more ponchos. You can actually find like,
Oh.
pants, jackets, shirts, beards, mustaches.
yeah. He
haircuts.
definitely has a beard this time.
Yeah.
That's the upgrade.
Yeah, yeah, there'll probably be DLC, new beards, and a lot of stuff for your lightsaber, a lot of stuff for BD1, and it doesn't hold your hand, which I'm glad they kept that from the first one. They kind of just go, here is an open world, and then here's your objective. But there's a big world, you might want to look around. So you can go find stuff to do and find things to get to. You'll see things like, oh, how do I get up there and find that? And also, one thing I wanted to emphasize as well, but I forgot. Oh, it doesn't look as the first one to me always looked like the levels look like a 3D representation of a 2D platforming level, if that makes sense. Like
I know what you mean.
Like in Metroid, you've got platforms and stuff that you jump on and swing on and do. It looked like
An
when
obstacle course, kind
right?
of,
Exactly. Like when you go to a new area, you're like, well, I obviously do this and this and this because those are my key points of swinging, jumping, crawling, that kind of thing. This is it looks way more organic. And then there's variations in the stuff that you interact with, such as on the walls and what you swing on and what you climb on. And so it looks, the level design is a lot better. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I was not a big fan of jumping. I can't stand train levels. I think I stopped playing that first one at the train level. Jumping from car to car. I have done that way too much in video games. I'm over that.
Yeah, but
Unless
it's a
like
Star
Apex
Wars
Legends.
train.
Yeah. Right.
There's only
right.
one train in Fallen Order, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very short lived, but you should go back and try it. It's after you get past that, and this is kind of the same thing in that first level. It's a tutorial level, so you're not doing as much. It does kind of hold your hand in that first level, and kind of push you through it. But then when
very linear.
Yeah, when you go to that next spot, that's when it's like, okay, go run, have fun, jump up some stormtroopers. Yeah.
Yeah. Thick. How come you haven't played this game yet? Or have you played this game yet? Or have you not had any time?
I have not had any time, but I'm also like, I'm okay waiting. I waited for Fallen Order to get a little bit cheaper. But like, like these single player games are a little bit harder for me to justify the full cost.
Especially at, wait for some more patches at least.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend buying this on PC right now. That first patch, I mean, I can't imagine them fixing everything in one patch, but yeah.
Is that live today? I think there was a performance patch today, right?
The PC comes out today for Xbox, and PlayStation 5 comes out tomorrow.
Okay.
So have you played anything?
We know you
have a Steam Deck. You have a Steam Deck. You have a Switch.
Yeah, you have no excuse.
Yeah. I mean, there was an announcement of a game last week, Picross 9.
I don't even know what Picross is. What the heck is
It's just a puzzle game. It's just I've been playing a lot of casual games. Like I downloaded Vampire Survivor on my phone, and I would say that it's a little bit harder to control because it doesn't feel as responsive. So. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate that it's the kind of game where it allows you to not watch any ads. Like it's totally optional. You don't have to watch the ad. But basically, if you watch the ad, you get a little extra on top of what. Yeah.
That feels gross. I hate that.
No, it's like really minor. And it doesn't happen very often. So I'm very surprised.
That's how it starts, though, Thick.
You get used to that, and then it's
yeah.
And it's watch this entire movie, and you'll get.
I don't even feel compelled to touch the ads. Like you can play it offline completely, and there's no ads. So
I love it when they have an ad in the middle of the button, the spot where the only spot on the phone that you interact with this game.
Oh yeah,
and you're like that, and then an ad comes screen. Up and look. I guess I'm installing State Farm's app because I clicked on it.
Yeah, like nothing pops up. There's no pop up. There's no banner ads.
Yeah,
it's
that's good.
Completely optional from what it looks like so far. But like I played that, but then also. Because I was visiting family for a little bit. I have my PS4 at home, and also my Xbox. I think I mentioned this before. My older Xboxes, and I was playing Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. I played the opening sequence so many times, but like I always try to do something a little bit different. But in reality, like when you like for at least the current time, the decisions you make in the beginning really don't matter that much. I feel, maybe a little bit later, and there's only a few key decisions that really branch off. I feel, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like comfort food. Like that's what mostly my gaming has been for the past few weeks.
Okay, all right. Let me ask both of you this: if someone was to play the Mass Effect trilogy from start to finish, how many hour commitment is that?
Ooh,
if you had a guess.
If you did everything or just the main?
Well,
quest?
Just like a regular playthrough.
Just play through a story and YOLO, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe a few side.
Probably about 80 or 90. I would say.
The first game is not that long. You could finish in like 10, 15, I think.
Oh
yeah,
really?
But the second one and the third one are about
a lot longer.
20. They could be 30.
Okay.
So shorter than.
I mean, if you just do a quick run through, there's probably about 20 each.
Okay.
So, maybe 60.
All right. Shorter than the Persona games.
I mean, I have to do
it's
everything.
Definitely shorter.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess let me jump into what I've been playing. So, Thick, I don't know if you heard, but Scott tried to get me hooked on Diablo. You heard about that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like
Yeah, how'd I do?
He almost thick. He almost did it right. For about 5 hours, I was hooked like a junkie. I just wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted I wanted the upgrades. I wanted the loot. I wanted the higher levels. Right. But then at the end of it, I said to myself, there's no big moments in Diablo. That's how I interpreted my experience. There's no like big moments that you have to really think about that your heart's beating. It's just like a treadmill game.
Yeah.
Right. So I said, what is a game like this that actually has big moments? And I went to a genre. I went to the genre known as the roguelike genre.
Okay.
Right? Because Scott, when you die in the roguelike genre, you're dead. You got to go restart your game, right?
Oh yeah.
So then did you play Hades?
I didn't play Hades because I played that on Xbox, but I played Dead Cells, Enter the Gungeon, Spelunky 2, and Curse of the Dead Gods.
Those are all very good.
Yeah,
they're considered kind of upper tier roguelikes, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to say anything like too unique about the roguelike genre, other than the fact that you can't have 4 or 5 roguelikes on your PlayStation because my brain just works like this, where the moment I hit resistance, I'm like, I'll try the next roguelike. I feel like I need to have one choice, and I just stick to that choice. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly what you mean.
So that's a personality fault.
Okay, which one did you like the best out of all those?
I played the most Dead Cells, and yet at the end of my time, I felt like I was starting to like Enter the Gungeon the most out of all of them.
I think that's a good choice.
Yeah,
I like
that's the only one I haven't played.
Okay.
I think you'd enjoy that one. It has co-op.
Oh, it does have co-op. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, you hear like, what is it? Binding of Isaac is like a classic. Hades is like a classic right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it does seem like Dead Cells is considered one of the top ones too, right?
Yeah.
I guess I wanted to ask you guys one question though. In terms of the genre, do you think are we past the peak? Are we at the peak, or is the peak coming? Now let me add one more thing onto this. So like, I feel like the roguelike genre it's a big indie genre, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And yet I feel like lately you're getting these like bigger AA efforts, right? So
let's say Returnal, yeah,
Returnal.
Yeah.
Where's my little list here? Ravenbound just came out for Xbox. That's like a big third person. You turn into a crow and or maybe you turn into a raven. I don't know. I didn't play yet. Ravenbound. You can't picture this game.
I've seen something on that.
I feel like it came out
yet? I forget.
There's another Raven game that also just came out. So
Raven Watch, right?
That's what I'm thinking of. But that's
Raven Watch looks like Curse of the Dead Gods. It's like a top-down isometric.
Yeah.
Ravenbound. But what?
That's because it's the same developers.
I know it is. Right.
Yeah.
But then you have like what is Hyperlight Breaker?
Yeah.
Is like it's like a new 3D sequel to that.
Hyperlight Drifter.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question.
That
Do
game
you
was
feel
amazing.
like was that a roguelike as well?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was. Do you feel like in 5 years we're going to start seeing more AAA efforts on this? Or do you feel like this is just a weird little bubble? Because it seems to me we're getting higher production efforts.
Yeah, I think it's going to keep kind of growing. I think I feel like it's a cheaper game to develop.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Right.
But it kind of allows you to have variety in everything in most sessions, right? Like there's a little randomness.
Yeah.
Well, I think Hyperlight Breaker might be it just takes one title to be super successful. You know?
Yeah.
Like breakout hit.
Right. And then EA and Ubisoft and all like, hey, check this out,
Right.
That one looks really good. And what a sequel. I mean, if you look at Hyperlight Drifter and then you look at this, it's you're talking 8-bit to modern day graphics. So
it kind of reminds me a little bit of Risk of Rain. Risk of Rain
2.
Yeah.
I enjoy that one a lot. And that one's also co-op.
That's right. Right. Yeah. I just think it's interesting how this is a genre that's just like it's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So not too much more to say about that.
Well, another roguelike genre that's growing, right?
What's that?
The Survivor genre.
Survival game?
Survivor, like
Survivor.
Vampire Survivor.
Oh, I know those are everywhere too.
Yeah, they're starting to pop up a lot. There's one called like I think Card Survivor, and it's kind of like Missile Command, and like you just control where it points, and you just
Yeah.
put cards down. And it's I don't know how it will play in the long term, but yeah, people are really playing with the formula right now.
Jeez.
Oh, Thick, what is the highest budget Survivor game out there?
It's hard to say.
It
right
just
now.
feels like it's a ton of like knockoffs of the Vampire Survivors,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
you know, was it the Deep Rock Galactic team is making one, and it looks at least higher production than
Oh,
Vampire
interesting.
Survivor.
Is it
But
3D?
2.5D.
2.5D. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I should check.
Interesting.
I should check that. I should check one of those games out.
Yeah.
Or perhaps Vampire Survivors. I should check out.
Oh, you haven't checked it out yet.
No, I
Yeah,
feel like
that
it's,
game is super addictive.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll understand once.
Yeah,
it's
it's
basically a slot machine.
You
so-
have to play it. Yeah, if you see it, you're like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. This looks terrible.
Uh-huh.
But until you play it, then you're like, oh, once you get it. It only takes about, Thick, would you say, like about 10 seconds to get it to like, oh,
Yeah.
Like one.
oh, this is how I do this. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And,
All right.
and then you're hooked. Yeah.
So Scott tried to get me hooked on Diablo, and I was trying to get me hooked on Vampire Survivors.
I'm
Right.
I'm the game junkie. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
First one's
All
free.
right. All right. Before we kick things off, I want to open up our listener feedback segment. Thick, you remember this?
Yes.
Here is where listeners of the Supply Drop participate in the discussion by going to the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel and dropping a question, comment, hot take, or devastating insult. Let's go over to our listener feedback correspondent, Thick, and see what he has for us this week.
Okay, let me load it on my 56K modem.
Okay. All right. Probably got a
Just
lot.
get
I'm
yeah,
assuming we got a lot.
Yeah, it takes a while to load.
Anything popping up there, Thick?
No comments so far.
Okay, thank you, Thick. This week's listener feedback segment was brought to you by the city-state known as Athens, where culture beats war 10 out of 10 times. I can't believe we got the best of the Greek city-states to sponsor our show.
Congratulations, Greece.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to the drop, the segment of our podcast where we talk about last week's most intriguing news story. Scott, start us off. What intrigued you this week?
Well, the CMA blocked Microsoft's purchase of Activision. And
Yeah.
and when I say blocked, I mean it's a 10-year block. They put a like almost a literal block on them. So, I mean, without going into too many specifics, they decided that cloud gaming was the reason that they didn't feel like it was consumer friendly, and they were concerned about cloud gaming becoming monopolized through Microsoft. So that kind of ended that. They are going to appeal. They are going to fight it, but they only have so many. They only have so much time before this deal with Activision just kind of falls apart. So
Right.
the big question is, and I want to talk to you guys about, is what do you think is next for Microsoft and Activision? Microsoft has had the worst 18 months they've had since the launch of the Xbox One.
I wouldn't say this last half year. It's been pretty tough for them.
For Xbox.
Yeah.
For Xbox in general.
Yeah.
But
So
they'll
the
continue. Yeah, they'll continue after if they don't get Activision.
They're not going to
Blizzard,
just
yeah.
go.
Nothing's
going to
happen really. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what is their backup plan?
I think their backup plan is quite simple. They have a war chest that they've already tried to use, right? It's open.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're like, okay, we had a misfire. Let's load up our second round,
Yeah.
right?
Just for the acquisition itself, or do you think that it's going to be more like, hey, we're going to buy Capcom, or we're going to buy Sega, or
Well, they're definitely
like
not
it's
buying
Square Enix.
Capcom. Sega, maybe. Capcom, definitely not. Just look at the deals they have with PlayStation.
I don't. But
Capcom?
That's yeah. But once those deals are done, I mean, are they going to just not take $1 billion,
Yeah.
or whatever Microsoft is willing to give them? I mean, that would be the most logical sense of, hey, we can't buy this, So maybe we can just buy this. It's a smaller company, and maybe that'll go through. And or maybe their strategy is more of a doubling down on Game Pass and services, and pushing forward with maybe even a new, faster console, or I don't know. I mean, I think they're just going to go for another purchase, personally, and I think it's going to be more of a purchase that would hurt Sony and help them in the Japanese market that they are.
I
failing
could
in
see them start to
big time.
play more of Sony's game with the whole exclusivity again.
Yeah.
Like, just no more nice guy.
Yeah, no
right?
more everybody plays. Now it's
Yeah.
you're gonna have to get Game Pass if you want to play. Yeah, and what's okay? So Redfall came out technically today, as we're talking about this. My wife is in the other room playing it now. So it's not looking good, and we're getting delay after delay after delay, and even Forza was not. They didn't have a release date, but it's always been.
It was in a 12-month window.
It was.
It was
And it's
supposed
always
to
been
be.
a November game, and we don't even have a release date for that. And whereas Avowed, there's people that said they played Avowed 2 years ago, and it was finished, and they were polishing it, and they loved it, and said it was fantastic. Where is it? Where's Starfield? Why did Starfield get bumped almost a year? So there's a lot of questions there, and a lot of are they kicking back on their the studios that they have and going, okay, we can't release this stuff in this state. It's got to be good. We got to make this good, because we got to start getting returns on the studios that we invested in, because right now they're not getting a return on the studios they bought. They bought a bunch of studios.
Right.
They're not producing anything.
Well, remember, was it 2 years ago Microsoft was Publisher of the Year according to Metacritic?
Yeah, well, 2021 they had a stellar year. They had a great year.
Right. Yeah.
And as playing on Xbox, it was a great year for customers as well. But it's and again, I said this last week, but it seems like January 2022, it's like, hey, we're going to buy Activision, and then we have a steady decline of quality of games, of promises, of advertising, of you know, it's just it just looks bad. All the way around. And
I think combined with that and like the layoffs earlier this year, like
343 and the Coalition, just and just to look at the Coalition, you have a studio that was put together to make Gears games. They put out 2, which I think are stellar. I know people will argue that, and it's a trilogy, and then they go make 2 other games. But not Gears 6. Well, they were working on 2 other games. They weren't working on the next Gears game. They just started making new games. And as of late last year, they're like, oh, okay, we are now working on Gears 6. And then earlier this year, with the layoffs, they're like, well, we canceled those other games. Or Microsoft came in and said, no, you're making a Gears game. We need this soon. We need, you need to ramp this up. This is why we got you. So I think it looks more of like, hey, we bought these studios, we put together these studios, we've let them manage themselves, and now, it's basically, the teacher goes out of the room and come back in, and everybody's, running around, writing on the wall, and of course I'm, trivializing that, but that's what it's starting to look like, right? Yeah, they're starting to go like, wait a minute, what are you guys doing? We're supposed to be, producing this stuff and getting this out the door so we actually make money to justify us purchasing you.
Right.
So, yeah.
I always like to look at things like, time is a steamroller, right? Like right now, everyone's just so obsessed with what's happening. It's like it's the end of the world for I've heard numerous Xbox podcasts where the hosts are committing suicide live on air, right? It's inappropriate. They shouldn't be doing that, but that's how dark.
Well,
that's how dark it is.
Was it the availability bias, basically? Because this is the information we have available right now.
Right.
So, I mean, we kind of need a good news here to really change the tone of what's going on, right?
Yeah, but I mean, as far as okay, so it's bad for Microsoft. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's a $1 trillion company. What about
I was just about to say that.
if you if you if you're a customer of theirs, if you play on Xbox, what does that mean for you? Well, absolutely nothing. It doesn't. Nothing changes other than you're not going to get the Call of Duties on Game Pass. That's it. That's really the only thing that changes for you. It doesn't. It's just keep doing what you're doing right now.
Yeah. Literally, you didn't lose a single game with this.
No, it's not like you're not. These things aren't accessible to you anymore. You were going to get them anyway. You were going to buy them anyway. You're just going to continue to buy them from Activision.
Well, I think because to kind of add to the point, because like we're talking about the acquisition deal, but I think like a lot of people look at that as a way to reason why Xbox is the way it is right now, right? Isn't that kind of what you were hinting at?
Well, I've said it before. I'm just kind of concerned with Microsoft owning Call of Duty just for one game, because look at Halo. I mean, that's Master Chief is etched into every console. If you open it up, his face is right there. That's how much they love Halo. And look what they did. I mean, they just let 343 just run it into just almost just a meme.
Isn't there some Phil Spencer quote where he goes, "If we lose our way with Halo, we've lost our way with Xbox"?
Yeah, but that was like 12 years ago.
Years ago.
Oh, was it?
You can't really hold it. Yeah, that was like in 2011 or something.
Yeah, that doesn't apply anymore.
The internet will hold it.
Yeah, he was referring to handing it over to 343 from Bungie, and yeah, but and the decisions that they made were just obviously stupid. Of like the talent, well, I won't say talent, but the people that they put in charge of running, Halo itself. So I'm concerned with like that same mentality now being in charge of Call of Duty, which is something I regularly play. So now I guess I don't have to worry about it. So it's just, check that off my list. But what about Activision? I mean, what's now going to happen with Activision, who desperately wanted to get purchased?
Let me ask you this: Did Activision just announce a quarterly earnings report over the past couple of days where they've been doing phenomenal?
Probably.
Or am I just making this up?
I don't know.
I feel like I heard on some other. You didn't see that? Did you see that?
I from what I understand, their numbers are actually down, at least on the Blizzard side. Not like a ton.
On Blizzard side?
Well, it's because after the launch of Overwatch 2, like the population dips, which is normal, right? Like
right.
Yeah, but that was what, mid last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, quarterly, whatever. But yeah.
Well, that would have ended last month. So
yeah.
And since then, you've had.
I guess 2 quarters.
They released
maybe.
like one game. So yeah, maybe it's. Well, they had to say the numbers are down for like kind of across the board as far as like WoW players, Call of Duty players, anybody that's in that Blizzard. But again, we're on the cusp. We're next month they're releasing a giant game, which we know is going to be somewhat good and hopefully somewhat workable and usable.
But is this what game's next month?
Diablo 4.
Diablo 4, okay.
Yeah, comes out in June. So
yeah,
that's numbers will go up. Stock will go up. It'll look great for them. But there's a couple of factors there too. We do know that Activision called everybody back to work, called everybody back to the office. Everybody that through COVID had taken their stuff home and worked from home and moved and started this whole working at home thing, and they said, oh, well, the next 3 months you're going to come back to the office. And they did exactly what, I've said all along, what's going to happen. They say, no, we're not coming back. Well, I'll go work for so-and-so. I can work from home there, and they're going to pay me more. So they're losing a lot of people that way as well because they're demanding them to come back and work in the office, and they don't want to. I mean, I don't blame them. So it's a toxic workplace. So, who wants to work with Bobby Kotick? Right?
Yeah.
So that I feel bad for them too, because that wouldn't have been a decision Microsoft would have made. They would have been like, "Are you're working at home? Are you producing? Are you happy? Well, then okay, cool. because they want to work for Microsoft. They talk to people. These people know everybody. They know it's like, oh well, since Microsoft bought us, it's been a better work experience. Obviously, because they don't have to do anything. So so they know that would have been a better thing. They would have like, hey, you want a union? Do a union. We're all for you. So that just got jerked out from under them. So these employees are now like, I'm not staying here. I'm not. They're going to fight
Scott,
it, blah blah blah, whatever. I'm going to go work for somebody else.
Scott, I'm gonna sum up the past 3 minutes of what you've been saying. You're panicking right now. Xbox is panicking. Like you're in the not the doldrums. You're in a dark place right now. Is that what you're kind of telling us?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
saying that I'm saying that Activision is kind of upheaved because of this.
Yeah.
Again, and it's don't go to Twitter, please.
Oh my gosh.
And right now, because it's people that really like PlayStation are just throwing parties or something for some reason.
Okay, can I say something?
Yeah.
If you listen to these console centric podcasts, either whether it's green or whether it's blue,
Yeah, any of them.
the whiplash that occurred the past 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
Do you remember what it was like 2 weeks ago?
It's just so bad. I mean,
Scott just said don't go to Twitter. I say go to Twitter. Go to Colt Eastwood's Twitter. Go to Discord's Twitter. Go to all those
Colin
guys.
Morinardi. Yeah.
And, but go 2 weeks back to, the vibe they were putting off.
Yeah.
They were doing parades. Like it's a foregone conclusion. So I just think the whiplash is fascinating.
Yeah.
And I think, don't you guys ever think of like this, like how easily our human brain will just go into team sports?
And
I'm part of this tribe, you're part of that tribe.
Yeah.
This is my belief because
that's pretty normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't. Well, I mean, it's just it's great to root for your team. There's nothing wrong with that. And coming from console and going to PC, I can kind of see that out from the outside. Of being in that that box, of whichever one it is, you are in a box. You're on their hardware, their controller, their store, their services. When good or bad, I mean that you are in that. So if you enjoy it and you like it, then you're going to root for it. It's just some tend to make the other one try to make them feel bad because
Scott, don't say the word some. It's not some. It's literally everyone in the industry is like an insane person. It's like,
oh yeah, well,
I think an IGN video put it best, and it says there's kind of like a cult following.
Yeah, it is. They're cults. You got two cults.
Yeah,
and it's. I mean, actual cult members look at these people like these guys are crazy.
Yeah.
What was that tech talk? Was it someone from Apple who was like, you have to turn your customers into fans, and then once they're fans, you have to turn them into
cult
fanatics.
Soldiers.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, but who gave that iconic talk that was like?
Jim Ryan.
Yeah. No, I feel like it was who was the big Apple guy who passed
Steve
away?
Jobs. Yeah.
I feel like Steve Jobs gave a big speech, and he's like, how to turn your user base or your customers into religious members.
Yeah, I can see him saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I feel has happened is every single giant corporation has figured out how to do that, and it's going to lead to the ruination of our. No,
only a couple.
It's going to be well, definitely Apple.
What do you mean?
Oh my God, Apple is they are. I can't even talk to people that are that have all Apple.
Yeah.
They're just they just use words and in different orders, and I don't even know what they're talking about.
It's strange. It is so strange. Especially when all everyone does on their smartphones is they have TikTok and they text message and they make phone calls.
Yeah.
And they FaceTime.
But get in line to get that new phone and pay $1,500 for it because it's
actually
okay,
FaceTime.
Wait. Yeah. Question: which company is Apple in the video game sphere? I'll give you two choices.
Sony.
You think Sony?
Yeah.
I think Nintendo, because Nintendo will set the trends and Sony will follow some of the trends.
I see your point.
You could say that, but you could say the same for Xbox. I mean, Sony.
They all do
I would say only Xbox services. I wouldn't say like everything else.
Right, but yeah, I mean, without, and this is something that if you're a PlayStation player, you need to know this. This is heartbreaking, but you need to know it. There probably wouldn't be a live service on PlayStation if it wasn't for Xbox.
Yeah,
there wouldn't be those titles that you love so much that are of great quality. The over-the-shoulder
PS Plus
bow and
games,
arrow
right?
games. No, I just mean the games that they produce for their studios. They're third-person single-player RPG light bow and arrow shooters. Those wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Xbox. Xbox has been Sony's competitor since the day they arrived. It hasn't always been the same way around, but they do they implement what Microsoft does, and sometimes they make it better, but not always. So
Thick,
that's what pushes them to make that product that everybody loves.
Yeah. Now, Thick, I remember SOCOM on the PS2, the first SOCOM.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you remember? No, don't do that. That was a highly regarded game. That game was highly regarded.
Yeah, on their 56K modem.
The first one was really, why they released it. But like the second one, I hear a lot of people, it was pretty good.
But my point is, like, SOCOM 1, I think after SOCOM 1, then Xbox got the idea, like, let's charge these people a yearly rate to play games that everyone on PC is playing for free, PlayStation users are playing for free. So there's more context that Scott, I think he purposely omitted.
That's why you pay that price for
PlayStation. You realize Sega
services.
also charged for online.
Yeah, they did.
Oh,
yeah.
Did they?
And they had the modem as well. Well, Microsoft was the one that said, "Oh, we're not doing a modem. We're doing broadband only." So that's why. So the original
Choo
Xbox
Choo
had
Rocket.
They had a LAN port in it, and you could hook everything up to a switch and have a LAN party.
Keep in mind, I think SOCOM was it was based within the game. I don't think it was like a whole OS level change like Xbox Live was.
No, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, each game had its own service. Like when you played on PlayStation 2, you had to log into that game to play it. Because at first EA was like, we're not doing anything Xbox. You guys are idiots. So if you wanted to play Madden or anything, you had to log into that and then play Madden through their EA servers. And that's why they didn't charge anything, because they didn't do anything. They just, here's a modem. You're logging into EA or Ubisoft or whoever does SOCOM. You're not using a service. Microsoft came up with the brilliant idea of going, hey, let's make the service and charge them. And we readily just, bought it. And then there you go. So
the market spoke.
Right, exactly. And then everybody else followed. Nintendo's been the one that's kind of just been like, this internet thing it's a fad. It's people playing games online. What is that?
I would say where Nintendo exceeds and where they kind of lead is Control.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, right.
Yeah, especially with their library. Oh, you want to play that game? No, you're not playing that.
It's in the Disney Vault.
Yeah,
I mean more like the controller in a way, because there's that whole touchscreen on the PS4 controller and the speaker, and the Wii did that, and the haptics happened in the Joy-Cons before the DualShock 5 or DualSense, right?
Yeah.
So and Rumble came first from Nintendo.
So Sony just copies everybody.
Okay, I gotta shut this. I gotta shut this down.
It's kind of true. There's no shame in it. There's no shame in it because they did do some of it pretty well. So
look, I mean, we can go through every company's history. They each brought important innovations.
Right. Well, the point is though is that without one or the other, you're not getting.
Yes.
You're not getting as good quality products and services.
Competition is important.
Because it's exactly.
Right.
So all the players we want Xbox to go out of business. No, you do not.
No.
You absolutely do not want that. I don't care if you're on PlayStation or whatever, you don't want that. So
can I end this conversation with the question that I want both of you to answer?
Sure.
And the purpose of this question is I want to look into your soul, and I want to see if you have a good soul or you have a bad soul. All right. So that's the purpose of the question.
Okay.
So here it is. What acquisition size would you guys borderline be uncomfortable with if the ABK deal goes kaput? Meaning, so they tried to spend $68 billion on ABK King, whatever.
Right.
What acquisition is like? Are you like actually that's probably they're probably throwing around too much money there? Do you know what I'm saying?
You
Like-
mean spending the same amount on somebody else?
No, I'm saying like if Microsoft if this deal goes out and then Microsoft tries to spend 200 billion acquiring,
okay. Yeah.
you know, is there a point where both of you are like, okay, this is getting a little like Microsoft's it's not healthy what they're doing.
Yeah, if they tried to like buy Embracer Group.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. That would
So-
be that would I would hope would not go through.
Okay.
Embracer Group owns like what? Is it 40% of all studios or some?
Don't they also own like a percentage of like a bunch of companies?
Yeah.
I don't know if they
Yeah,
I don't know if
probably-
they own.
Probably true.
They
That's like
Yeah.
they embrace everyone.
embrace.
everything.
That's right.
They are So they're they own a lot, and it's not. A lot of their studios are smaller and not as well known, but
Right,
But if you
right.
look at a pie chart, they're the large chunk of them.
Yeah.
So that would
okay.
be a problem.
Do
Absolutely.
Okay,
they
Thick
own
Kid-
Midway?
Probably. Probably.
Nothing.
Is Midway still around? They just kind of dissolved.
No,
it,
they're
didn't
not.
they?
They're not. They're not.
Oh, they're not.
Throwing a joke in there. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't get it.
All right, let's end that. Let's end that.
Yeah,
Thick,
moving
tell
on.
us what your drop was. Your drop this week.
Well, there was media coverage of everyone's most anticipated game, at least maybe mine-ish,
Okay. Thick.
and it is Tears of a Kingdom.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'd have to say, like, so far from the previews, right? Like everyone's kind of had their talk on it. There's like 15 minutes of footage. Some of it's like kind of like be real,
Right.
they just shared. There's some gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what's your guys' take on it overall? You guys been watching some of the previews, right?
Oh yeah, I watched a lot of those previews.
You saw the skill up one. I think you.
Yeah,
you
I did.
Yeah,
that to
I
me.
watched that one.
So my interpretation is Nintendo couldn't have done any better with this. You know how everyone's like God of War Ragnarok looks like DLC, and then they're like, well, actually, Tears of the Kingdom kind of looks like DLC to Breath of the Wild. No, you cannot say that anymore. In my opinion, you can't.
I agree. There's a lot more systems.
Way
like,
more.
Yeah, and they kind of listened to the fans. Like people were really breaking Breath of the Wild for the longest time, but they said like, okay, let's just make the sandbox even deeper.
Like
I think,
yeah.
yeah, I think what I'd say is like Breath of the Wild was about the freedom to explore in a way, right? Like because you climb everything. That was kind of like the landmark feature, and I guess how you approach combat in some ways. But like they kind of in Tears of the Kingdom, it's more about how you explore. Like
Right.
how do you get to point B?
Right.
So I think I'm slightly worried about that because like there's like the thing with like choice paralysis, right? You got too many options, or like you maybe the way you approach it.
No,
You
I
don't like-
disagree.
You
Too
disagree
many
with that?
options. No
No,
way.
because here's I feel like you have to, when choice paralysis comes in, it's when there is a big consequence for, like, let's say you have 10 options. When you get paralyzed, it's like, people say chess is kind of like suffers from this, right? Because you have so many options in chess and you can get punished with each choice, right?
Yeah.
Like
I guess there's no real stakes.
there's no real stakes. So
Yeah.
that's why I feel like this is just it's a fun sandbox where you can just mess around in, right?
Okay, yeah. So I'll revert that statement.
Yeah,
I'll
you
put
better
that
reverse
Yeah.
that. It's stricken from the record.
Okay. So it's confirmed that weapon breaking is back. But from what I understand, when you combine it with, it seems like they want to encourage you to use the combining mechanism. I forget the name, but like it increases the durability like substantially. So you have
That's
to worry
good to
about it a
know.
little bit less.
So when you put a rock on the end of a sword, it's not going to just break and.
It's not going to just like
30
snap the stick in
seconds.
half. Yeah.
Right.
Scott, when you saw this, I know you don't have a Switch, but what was going through your mind when you saw these previews? Did you dive into these previews at all?
Yeah, I watched two of them.
Okay.
I watched Skill Ups, and then the one that they, the Microsoft. I mean, sorry, the Nintendo one. Yeah, this was kind of unexpected. I was kind of on that fence of just this looks like more of the same. Just maybe a
Breath of
little
the
bit
Wild.
better looking. Yeah, they look like
Yeah.
DLC, but
Yeah.
yeah, this is the kind of stuff I like in open world games. It's like here's tools, here's things to go do, just go have fun. Make your
Yeah.
own stories, make your own adventures, make your own whatever.
Mhm.
There's no hand holding there. So to have those mechanics on top of that, yeah, I mean, it's just that's
Right.
the epitome of a sandbox. You just do whatever
Right.
you want and play infinitely with all that stuff.
Right.
So
Let me
yeah, I
go
think it's
back a
great.
little bit.
At 30 frames per second.
Choice paralysis was a probably the wrong term, but I guess the way I'm looking at it is like, you know
Yeah.
how survival games are a little bit too open-ended? Like, I'm worried that there's no real focus
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, like
I have no worry about that with Nintendo though.
I mean,
Do you
this is
actually-
Zelda, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Because,
got,
like, it kind of alienated some of the older fans in Breath of the Wild, like how sandboxy it was.
Right. That's true.
It's like it's a lot different than every other Zelda.
but
I still
that's-
like the
that's
original.
that's Zelda.
Yeah. It's just it's a minor gripe. Like I don't want to be like bored. I know like it's advanced physics system, but like I don't want to be spending like forever just to get to point B as well.
Well,
Like I got to find this, and
Hmm.
You don't think they just emphasize these things on these new mechanics and downplay the story and why you're actually there? I mean
yeah,
that
that could be the case.
I mean we could get another trailer of the story trailer, right? I mean we usually get that right before
I
launch.
I think we did actually.
Did we?
It's just a lot of cutscenes, but
Yeah.
like it seemed okay. It was just
Yeah.
like a lot more voice acting. Of course, Link never says anything, which is
Right.
how it should be, to be honest. That's the way I like it. But yeah.
Hmm.
He did on 3DO.
One thing. Oh yeah. What was it? One thing is sub 30 FPS. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, a lot of those previews did have parts where it was way sub 30 FPS.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was chunky.
Yeah.
But do
and
we give it a pass because it's on 6-7-year-old hardware? Is
yeah.
That doesn't get a pass.
No, I don't think it does either.
No.
If it's bad, it's bad. Now, I don't know if it's going to be so bad that it really hampers your enjoyment. But
Mhm.
but a lot of those previews that did look bad. You know?
Yeah, and especially on a preview when you want to see the best parts and the best
Right.
performance, and if
Yeah.
they can't get that, yeah,
What was
that's
it?
I don't know.
I also know I know Skill Up said something like, "Oh, the performance is bad, but we're playing on an old build, so potentially it'll be better on the final build." And I'm like,
I
I
highly
don't
doubt
think
it.
so.
No,
I think
I
they're
don't think
giving
so
a
either.
pretty final, yeah.
Yeah, you guys know what is it? Breath of the Wild does have drops too. Like it's like some substantial drops, some areas. They improved it a little bit with patching, but it's nowhere near like all of a sudden it's stable. That's not the
Right.
case. And I doubt that will be the case here too.
Right.
And another one of Nintendo's titles, not the same developer, of course, is Pokemon. That released with a lot of frame rate issues.
Yeah.
Well, we're seeing the end of this hardware. I mean, they needed to release something last year.
Yeah.
And we don't have anything, right? They haven't like announced or said
No.
anything of what they're working on. I know that's not very Nintendo. They usually just go, "Hey, here it is. It'll be out in 2 months." But Switch 2, Switch Pro, Switch something,
Switch something,
it,
probably, yeah.
it makes me think almost that there's going to be another like format change. Because why would they not wait to release this game on the new hardware? Because that sells new hardware. A new Zelda game of any kind sells new hardware.
Well, Tears of the
It's gonna
Kingdom
keep
Deluxe.
selling.
No, it'll be Deluxe. Remember Mario Kart Deluxe?
Yeah.
How that sold like 70 million units?
or new Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah,
exactly.
Tears of the Kingdom HD. Well, I'm just saying, is it going to be something? Is it not going to be a Switch? Is it going to be something completely different? Do you see
No,
what I'm
it's
saying?
a Switch.
It's a Switch. It's a Switch.
Is it okay?
It's a more beefy.
Okay.
It's a beefier Switch.
Yeah.
I would hope
Yeah.
so. I mean, that's that's what everybody
Yeah.
wants.
Yeah.
I mean,
let me.
Tears of the Kingdom would still sell on like a new console. Like all they got to say is like 60 FPS, and then boom.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least 40. I mean, if you're on that small a screen, I mean, there's a lot of people that can't tell the difference between 40 and 60 on a Steam Deck.
True.
You don't have to push 60. You just want to push something that looks like, that's not. I mean, it's less powerful than the phone you got in your pocket right now.
Can I say something? Am I allowed to say something on this podcast?
We'll pass you the stick.
Okay. Breath of the Wild was 30 FPS.
Sorta.
I feel like I don't remember, like, that never crossed my, like, as I recall my experience with that game, I don't remember the performance at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
I thought the game was so good that it was you remember the game, right? So this idea that it needs to be 40 FPS or 60 FPS to, I don't buy that.
To me, it doesn't matter either. But then, it is kind of a double standard. I know, like Redfall, right? But I mean, Redfall has different issues.
Redfall's also different because it's a more twitchy FPS,
it's
more
a shooter.
action.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's that twitchy, to be honest.
But compared to Zelda,
it's a first-person shooter, though.
It is, yeah, but
yeah.
Like,
I mean, spend, I don't know, an hour with Destiny 2, and then go back and play Destiny 1. You'll throw up. I swear. I mean, it's just,
really?
I mean, you're going from 60 to 30. It is jarring. It is like someone slapped you in the face.
Right.
But that's what that game is a first-person shooter. Redfall is a first-person shooter. When you have something that's action, that's why, like I said before about Jedi Survivor, it's a third-person action game. When you're like climbing a wall and jumping on a ledge and then swinging over to something else and then falling down a pipe to catch another thing, it's, if you're dropping into like 50 frames per second, it's not as big a deal as if you're in a first-person view and you're pointing a gun from A over to B and you're getting frame drops.
Oh, yeah.
It is,
yeah.
It will make you just sick.
Thick, I think you're underselling how twitchy that game is. I know just before the podcast started, I watched a short clip of Redfall, and there were like 4 vampires that are like melee vampires, and they're like running towards the player, and the player's like backing up, trying to shoot all 4. And I'm like, oh, you need to get your cursor on those 4 AI like pretty quick.
Yeah,
but
And I feel like when I picture Zelda, it's like pick up the tree trunk with Ultra Hand,
right.
Put it in the air, swing it over here, drop the tree trunk.
Doesn't need to be 60.
I guess the way I would say I interpret twitchy is like fast time to kill, and Redfall is not that type of game. Because I mean, you said Destiny 1 30 FPS was an issue. I never really had an issue with it, even in going back to it.
Because you didn't have a choice.
I've done that before. Okay, so on Destiny 2, if I was playing on like the Xbox One, and then I went to I was playing on Stadia once, and that's 60 FPS.
Right.
It doesn't bother me. But that's a personal thing. But I just don't think it's that twitchy. But I mean, that's just my opinion at this point.
It's not really a matter of twitchy. It's a matter of being in a first-person perspective.
Yeah.
And having frame drops. I mean, if it's a consistent 30 and it could be okay. 30. But even before I started this, my wife's playing on her Xbox, and she's like, "This is making me seasick," because it's it's 30 frames per second. She plays DMZ. It's 60 frames per second on the Xbox. And then you go and you play something like that, it is very noticeable. And again, it depends, person to person. I'm not saying you can't enjoy it. I'm saying that for most people, it is noticeable. Maybe not so much going from 30 to 60, but going from 60 down to 30, it is very noticeable.
Yeah, I feel like there's not that many 30 FPS games on the Series X, right?
Yeah, I mean,
there's just not
because
that
this
many.
was oh, this is the most powerful console ever made. You know, we're
Mm-hmm.
hitting 4K and 60 on every title and some 120 on titles. And then
Yeah.
here comes 2023 with, you know, drops of 30 frames per second for games.
Yeah.
I don't think that's acceptable. I don't. I mean, whether it made me sick or not, or it's a first-person shooter, or if it's anything, I don't think that's acceptable.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So put that one.
Disagree, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's
Well,
fine.
no,
I mean, it's
And also, to the fixed point, it's like, I don't think it's like what is twitchy and what is not twitchy. It's clearly a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So there are twitchier games than Redfall, and there are less twitchy games than Redfall. They all land somewhere on the line. You know what I mean?
like a fighting game, like a at 30
Right.
and a fighting game at 60.
Right. You
30's
want
harder.
right.
it's definitely harder.
Yeah. Thick, don't get pissed at us, all right? We're looking at your icon. You're pissed at us right now. He's not talking to us right now. He's not even talking to us.
Well, it is preference. I mean, it does have to do with preference, but it's not so much preference is that what you're promised is not you're not getting.
Yeah.
You know, when you're promised 4K 60 and you're getting sub 4K at 30, then that's that could be anything. I don't care if it's a fighting game or racing game or a first-person shooter. It's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Nintendo
Thick,
doesn't care.
Yeah. Thick, can you say something just so we know you're still on the team? I think you I think you're muted.
If
I think you
if
muted
his
yourself.
mic went out, that would have been
No.
okay.
I don't have any more. You guys know my
Okay.
take on it. So.
No, that's fine.
All right.
It
That's
doesn't-
fine. That's that's why there's three of us, because that's a different take on it. And
Yeah. And I like the tension. I like the tension.
That's why I kept quiet a little bit. You're welcome.
what is what just came out on Switch? The Metroid, the Metroid remake.
Remake, yeah.
Metroid
Yeah.
Prime.
And that's full 60 FPS.
Is it 60? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can get 60 on a Switch. Of course, that's not an open world game with like a bunch of Okay.
Yeah.
So, and even when when they make a new one, Switch 2 or whatever, 60 is probably not going to be their target. That's just not something Nintendo.
Wait a second.
does.
You don't think the Tears of the Kingdom is going to be a 60 on the new hardware?
I don't think it has to. I think it'll look prettier.
It'll probably be stable 30.
Stable
Oh,
30.
you guys are crazy.
That's just Nintendo.
This podcast, what Mario Kart Deluxe? I guarantee you it's 60 frames per second.
Oh,
There's
well,
no way it's 30.
It's a
Well, yeah, that's a
small
racing game.
scale
Oh,
game.
get out of here. I mute you. I mute you. Guys, we have
Wow,
to
you're such a
continue on with this
dictator.
podcast. We have to continue on this podcast, okay? Can we do that?
Yeah, we need to get rolling. Okay.
All right. So I got two real quick news stories this week. Number one, apparently PlayStation did pretty good on their quarterly report. Apparently they sold 6.3 million PS5s, which is, according to like Benji sales, it's the highest amount of video game hardware ever sold in quarter
In the
one.
time period, right?
Yeah. Which is like better than Switch, better than Nintendo Wii, better than PS4, PS2. So that's pretty good. Operating income down 54% for the quarter due to reduced first-party sales, and maybe PSVR 2 has something to do with that.
First
I
party
guess
sales? No, it's a $70 game. That's what that has to do with.
Well, I'm trying to think what game released in Q1 for them.
First party? Nothing,
Oh,
right?
wow.
I
Yeah,
think it's
you're
been
right.
dry.
It wasn't anything, was there?
Yeah, so I think that's probably a large amount of that, right?
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't know what last year, but
Oh, wait,
but-
why is that being brought up by the media if there was no games release?
Well, I think it's just they always like to compare it to the year prior, right? And like 54% drop is a huge drop, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not all the other increases or drops are 10%, 5%, 3%, whatever. 54 is huge, but and then real quick, and then I'm going to text Scott at the end of this. PS Plus users flat, monthly active users up 2%. It's just a bunch of boring stuff. We don't need to get into that. But apparently, right now there's 38.4 million PS5 sold worldwide. The reason why I bring this up is because listeners, about 5 months ago, Scott is on record. We can dig up the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Where we asked Scott how many PS5s is Sony going to sell. His number was 50 million. All right,
Yeah.
so we're at 38.4. Scott,
We're getting there.
Scott,
Well-
you got to hope for a miracle. And this isn't going to be the last time I bring this up to you, Scott.
Oh, I'm sure it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Thick, do you have anything to add to this?
Mm,
Can you make fun of Scott? Like, I like hitting him from two angles.
You know
two sides.
how many PC users there are?
I don't know. I don't even know what that means. So I'm gonna move on to the next story.
1.2
Okay.
billion. Yeah.
Okay. This is ridiculous. Let's go to the next news story. Okay. From Software. You guys have heard of From Software? They released a trailer for Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon.
mhm.
Game it was a gameplay trailer. It's coming out August 25th. You guys both take a look at this 2-minute trailer.
I did. I watched it.
All right,
Yeah.
both of you right now. Did it elevate hype, maintain hype, or decrease hype?
It's a great trailer. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
So it either maintained or increased for you, Tick.
It kind of felt more like a sizzle reel without any real
Yeah.
direct
Okay.
gameplay, so I can't really judge it yet. Did you guys play Zone of the Enders? Kind of,
Very
or
briefly.
any of the older Armored Core games?
I think I
Not a
played like
ton of-
Armor Core 1 like forever ago.
Yeah.
How do you guys think it compares to, like, if you're an Armored Core fan? What do you guys think? Because I don't have any
not.
experience really with it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I looked up sales of the Armored Core series. I don't think a single one has sold over 1 million copies.
Yeah,
This
I
is
think
like a
it's-
niche
yeah.
franchise.
But now it's FromSoft. It's got a cult following.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So for me, I kind of align with Thick. Like I feel like it was a very boring trailer for me. So Thick, you liked the trailer. I didn't like the trailer because it was like, if I had to explain to a friend over the phone who didn't see the trailer, and he was like, "Well, tell me the trailer. What was it about?" I'm like, you can shoot people with machine guns or rockets, and then you can hit them with swords, or you can boost away. And then he's like,
Right, yeah.
and then he's like, okay, thanks. You just described every video game in the last 40 years because that's what you can do in every video game, right? So I feel
Yeah,
like they didn't.
I
Oh, go
agree.
ahead, Thick.
I agree with this, but I like the trailer. Right? I like it just like as
Okay.
like the spectacle, right?
The tone and the spectacle.
Yeah, like I really like some designs to some of the mechs.
Oh.
I don't know, but
No, I'm with you, except when they had that stupid Fast and the Furious tank treads, where it's like doing
treads.
Vin Diesel stuff.
and
You know what
Vin
I'm
Diesel
talking about?
pops out.
Yeah, that looked a little out of place in my opinion.
Yeah,
You know.
Yeah, it looked-
Go ahead, Scott.
I was gonna say, it looked a little goofier than I
Yeah, it
thought
looked
it would
goofy.
be.
It looked
In the
goofy.
first trailer, right?
Yeah, the first
No,
trailer it was like, whoa, this looks like it's gonna be
dark.
like, yeah, like a
serious.
dark and very very moody,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
dystopian, robot future or whatever. Yeah, that trailer it looked like something. It looked like something from PS1 days.
Right. it did.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. Somebody else might be going, this looks like something from PS1 days.
Right.
I guess I
it's
would
not as
compare it
exciting.
to what's it? Like the first trailer reminds me of Zone of the Enders 1, and then the second trailer reminds me of Zone of the Enders 2.
Oh, I don't quite get that reference. Explain that reference.
So like the first one felt a little bit like darker in a way, and the second one was like very
Oh, okay.
like fast paced and like the trailer for Zone of Enders 2 was just as fast paced as this one. So
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it looks
Alright.
like two different games to me. Like between the first trailer and the second trailer, which is not uncommon, but
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of lost interest after that second trailer.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Scott, at least you're honest there. That's good. I do have a question for both of you too. I feel like the internet is galvanizing around this title, and I have a
from
conspiracy.
software, that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have it, but I also have it's two things. It's From Software, and I also feel like all these single player gamers. You guys know I'm obsessed with this group of people known as single player gamers. I feel like they have to champion like the new From Software single player game because like this is like we don't get these AAA games like we used to anymore, right? Do you feel like that, or do you think I'm crazy?
No, I'm sure that there are. I'm
There's,
sure
it's an
that's-
aspect to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the get good crowd.
Precisely.
You don't like that.
Scott,
You don't get good.
You nailed it. You nailed it. All right. Do we have anything more to say about this game, or should we move on?
Rated. What do you
Oh,
think it would be rated?
Metacritic?
Oh,
Yes.
90.
Oh, oh
That sounds
no.
about right.
I'd say 82.
Okay.
86.
Right in the middle.
Yeah.
If we can clip that and make it a YouTube short, we're going places. We're going places.
86. All right.
All right, guys. I have the lamest rumor mill ever. Should I do it?
Yeah, do it.
Go
Please
ahead.
do.
All right. There's two rumors this week. Number one, and these are bad rumors, but all right. Number one, NFL draft pick Kin Blue Kelly, kind of a unique name, has a deal for an upcoming Xbox IP, which is apparently about a SEAL Team 6 member who travels back in time. That's a rumor.
Okay.
That's a
10 out of 10 lame.
What, and travels back in time and what?
Yeah.
there's no more. I'm assuming he's gonna
just
go to
like-
like a. Don't you? You know. When
It's like a 2-hour simulator of you just hitting your key fob on your car, going tick tick. Where did I park?
And this sounds like a chat GPT prompt.
Right.
Someone just made it up.
Yeah. All right. Rumor number two. Right for rumor number two.
Yeah.
According to Jez Corden, apparently a couple Xbox acquisitions fell through as a result of the APK deal falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
I guess during the ordeal, he's saying that some fell through. So whatever. Screw you, Jez.
Yeah, I'm sure some other stuff fell through that, you
Yeah.
know, there was probably a lot of like minor deals going on with other people that were dependent on that happening. And just like Microsoft going through and, you know, making these deals with other people with cloud services and stuff, you know, making sure that's like, hey, we're giving you service in 10 years and this 10 years and just handing out 10 years to everybody. There's a lot of stuff that, you know, there's a lot of smaller like cloud companies were like, what just happened? We just lost like a buttload of money. So yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to our final segment of the show, which is big talk for big ideas from big brains with big vocabularies.
Ooh.
Thick, why don't you introduce the topic to our audience?
Well, the topic today is really AI, and we're not talking about your standard enemy AI in video games. We're talking about what's the real term for it right now? Large learning models. That's what it is. It's all machine learning, right? And you know, the really notable thing right now is ChatGPT, Midjourney, Google Bard, and there's a couple others like I can't remember off the top of my head, but we're seeing their influence in a couple areas right now. You know, we see a lot of probably TikToks or whatever. There's a lot of little clips about it, right? So what are your guys' experiences with this so far? Have you guys had a chance to try any of it?
ChatGPT. I played with it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Were you impressed with it, Scott?
Yeah.
You hope it goes into games?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I've talked about this before on the show is that, you know, anybody asks me, it's like, what do you want in future games? It's always AI. I want to be able to interact with people in the game, not players. You know, when you walk up to a player in a game, you know what you're going to get. I mean, you know, it's just, you know, there's no mystery there. But with NPCs that have some type of intelligence, or at least communication intelligence, can really open up new avenues for playing open world RPGs or even first person shooters or, you know, basically anything. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thick, what about you?
So I think you guys kind of seen what I've been playing with. I've been playing with it's actually Bing, but they have the picture generator, right? So it's playing out generating logos for, you know, our podcast.
Oh yeah, right.
And we might see that eventually. I played around with a couple of like just the chat bots, right? You know, I just try to have it tell me dad jokes or something really basic right now. I know like I follow like the Reddit for ChatGPT, and like there's some interesting things people have done. There's this one video I saw, and I wish I saved the link to you guys. It's basically in Unity. I think Unity kind of is starting to incorporate their own AI, right? So like basically you just type like you give it a prompt, it's like I want a world with a bunch of whatever, and then it'll generate that for you. And then you could kind of add on to that, like make it denser, make it, like you just basically talk to it and it'll create the world for you.
Yeah, this is what we talked about before, is that there could be a time where it's not, making games is not something that's going to be done by studios. It's going to be, something personal that you create, much like, what's the thing in Star Trek, the holodeck, or,
Yeah.
where you can alter it to make these things, exactly for you. That
It could be
might
where the metaverse is going. Like you just have like
it-
your own space and create it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. And I mean, I don't. Not that I want anybody to lose their job, but
Yeah.
that's exciting to me. To where you can, alter something or just create something from scratch that is tailored to what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I would hate. I hope people on Reddit don't ever share that, what they what they're creating for themselves. But that to me is exciting.
Okay.
It's
So
years away, many years away, but
it could be quicker than we expect, to be honest. Like I see a lot of progress. I feel like if you've seen how Midjourney like does a prompt a year ago, it's improved vastly. Like it looks pretty good.
yeah. But if you get stuck on the floor, who you blame?
AI will be the blame for everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting and scary, though, isn't it? I mean, it's
Yeah, no, I agree.
a lot of people are like, "Hey, look, I don't have to do this. I just have this AI do it." I was talking to someone the other day who's a programmer, and we were talking about ChatGPT, and he uses it sometimes to solve errors. Like if he's got an error in code, he'll like give it to ChatGPT and types like, "Hey, I need this code for this and this and this," and then
Hopefully it wasn't confidential code.
Well, right, yeah, it's not something. It's but it kind of breaks down the error. He can see it, and then like just basically just like using a calculator when you're doing somebody's taxes, So I mean, it's a great tool, but it's also not perfect, and that's something that we all need to kind of keep in mind, that especially machine learning AI is not infallible, and we shouldn't be using it for like information, But yeah, as far as in gaming, whatever we can do with it to expand worlds and be able to play in those worlds more realistically with other NPCs, that's what I want.
Yeah. I know, because I like to really invest in this podcast. I knew that this topic was coming up, so earlier today I asked my Amazon Alexa if I could talk to ChatGPT, and then she said no, but you can talk to Amazon Alexa Social. So I talked to Amazon Alexa Social. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
And it was a awful conversation. Like
Well,
it takes her like 8 seconds to respond, and she responds mostly wrong to your questions. But
so what? Wait a minute. What is social? Is it just like, hey, what's going on? How are you?
Yeah, I think it's more like
It's a
like
conversation.
So if you're
right?
like that lonely, so you have some. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I was getting bored with it, so I started asking her political questions, and then she literally hung up on me. Like she was like, "I'm not."
I'm not going there.
She's not liable for those opinions.
Pulling the plug.
No, that's right. So, yeah.
So we have excitement about it. So what do we expect? What are the negatives? Where are you kind of like doomsday or whatever thinking about it?
There's theories.
The human race gets wiped off the face of the earth.
Basically. Yeah, there's theories that we've done this before. We've had higher civilizations on this planet, and we've created AI, and it destroyed us, and then we're doing it again, and But that's like that far channel and on cable that has all that stuff. But to me, it's really just taking jobs away from people that are like creators. Having AI or having who wouldn't want a robot in their house to like vacuum and stuff, right? That's not really taking a job from somebody. That's just letting it do things that you don't want to do. So if we keep that mentality, I think it's fine. But if we start replacing people, artists, content creators, things like that, with AI, then it's a huge problem, because then we're going to have a deficit of, human,
like jobs available, right?
Human jobs, human interaction, human everything. I was just thinking when Nate was talking about Amazon Social, I thought, well, that'd be a great thing to have, like, for maybe elderly people that, which loneliness is an epidemic for elderly people, to just have somebody to just kind of talk to, which if you think about that would be fantastic, just to have someone for them to interact with, or
It's definitely an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah. But someone always takes it too far. There's always that,
right.
So I think we're kind of like going on a tangent slightly, because we're a little bit less on games, right?
That's kind of our MO.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah.
How about negative impacts to game? So I know, like, losing jobs is one. Do you think
Yeah.
we'll lose a little bit of like heart to games? Like, I feel like because AI will be, let's say, play like it'll get to the point where AI can play almost indistinguishable online to another player. Like, how do you know that player is real?
That's very possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned with like the publishers or the companies that control the games finding new ways for AI to manipulate us into buying,
I could see
cosmetics and
that.
things like that.
Kind of like, was it matchmaking rating, right? In a way.
Yeah.
Like, they could make a bot that will scale with you and you wouldn't even know.
That is creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to destroy the data centers.
The Xbox Live servers.
Right. Yeah.
One thing I think that might happen, like, if, say, that's the case, like, all online games just polluted with bots, we might get a resurgence of couch co-op. Like, that could be a thing. It could be.
It'll come back. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, maybe, like, like bars will have like that sort of like scene. Who knows?
Yeah. I feel like Vic is describing like a post-apocalyptic
this
scenario.
Kind of, right?
There's
like LAN parties were back.
They're
I'll
like
take LAN parties.
underground, hiding from the AI, and playing Halo on a little TV, little CRT. Turn it
Vic's
down.
the only one.
They'll hear
Vic's
you.
the only one with the positive like demeanor. He's like, guys, couch co-op.
I know, right?
Yeah, we play Halo. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, that's just like one of my thoughts. I don't know if you guys have any more.
No, that's it. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting and scary at the same time. Yeah, and I think that anybody that's seen what's produced on the internet, as far as images, is a little concerned. That's like, hey, I can't create that in 2 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
That'll just get further along. But there are laws about AI that have been put in place. But I mean, they're laws, and they'll be technology will advance way faster than they can update laws. But we do know about the I believe it was Google that had two AI. Dick, you probably know more about this than I do, but
Was it Bard or Lambda or
something? They had two. They put them together, and then within like minutes or whatever, they created their own language, and they started talking to one another, and nobody
someone
knew
pulled
what
the
they were
plug,
talking
right?
about. Yeah, they had to pull the plug on it because they didn't know what they were talking about. So that that is extremely scary. So I don't know. If there's nobody there to pull the plug, what happens?
Yeah.
Wow. It's got really dark.
We got to play ominous music to exit this podcast.
I'll put some in the
Okay. Well,
some
let
organ
me
music.
touch one more topic that's probably going to be happening. I think relatively within the next few years is people will start using AI, but they'll start making games. Like the day before, right? Like how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll be able to use AI to just make that game, and just reap the benefits from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, make a substandard, generic, just plain game that everyone will buy when it first comes out, and then realize that it was AI created and it's crap. But they've got all the money for it. Yeah, I think that's very possible. Especially now since they've who was it that was talking about to make Call of Duty is basically like $1 billion a year or something ungodly. Between marketing and the game itself, the multitude of studios, the resources, the actors, everything, is it's almost $1 billion a year just to make Call of Duty. That's just one game. So we know that the AAA market in general is could just go bust at some point. It could just you're not able to make enough money to profit from making a AAA title, So, I mean, what happens? What do we do when that happens?
Mm-hmm.
So, buy a PC, Steam, play some other stuff, but so yeah, that's always in question. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see more roguelikes.
Possible. I mean, there's always going to be those, indie devs and renegades and, just out there making interesting new stuff with smaller studios that do it because they love it, not because the publisher is telling them, what to make and how to make it and what to do with it.
Yeah.
So,
So
there will always be the games. It's just, at some point it's going to be Madden, it's going to be Call of Duty, and maybe one other game that's going to be AAA, and everything else will be, whatever you can make.
Yeah. Wow, I've never been sadder than ever in my life than I am right now.
I know, right?
Yeah.
This is what I like in the podcast.
Guys, let's end this podcast.
Yeah, let's
Scott, tell listeners how they can reach us.
Well, please leave a comment below in the YouTube. And also, we do have an email. If people still use email,
no one does.
Yeah, it's the
leave us a comment.
We don't even know our email address.
It's just leave us a comment. Yeah, please do. Just let us.
Maybe tell us about your Bitcoin business or something.
Anything. Yeah, just put 30 or 60. Just put 30 or 60, whichever one. Just put it down at the bottom. That'll make Thick very happy. So yeah, but thanks for watching. Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll see everyone next this upcoming Sunday, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Should I share a quote? Should I share a quote?
Please
absolutely.
Do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. This is a little cynical one. I'm just prefacing.
Oh, that goes with their ending.
Yeah. Journalism is about pure entertainment, not a search for truth.
Wow.
I'm
that is a truism.
I'm hanging up.
Okay. All right. Oh, he really hung up. Is that how we do it now?
Okay.
This is probably first time using it. Is he coming back?